Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Morning Market Movers, where we do live analysis for day trading, look for hot spots in the markets for the day. My name is Todd Rich. I'm with Nadex. With me from Keep Trading Simple is Brian Caprice, and we're clearly running our Halloween, I guess, pre-Halloween episode
This is
because
my zombie look with a 3-week-old. I look like a zombie.
nice.
That's what I was going for.
Yeah, I
I'm a
was gonna
method
say
actor.
you're kind of
Method actor.
looking a little dead over there.
Yeah, method actor. Method actor. Pulling a Johnny Depp.
I like it. I like it. Before Brian and I jump into it, I do need to share this disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone. That any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. In the markets today, let's first start with all right, we've got some economic numbers that have come out, but they came out all evening long. Let's make this a little bit bigger, and I'm going to start just reviewing some of these numbers because there is a story that is going on. Number one, GDP in Germany, growth is slowing down. Clearly, the economies were uh, all starting to grow rapidly coming out of the pandemic. We're not out of it entirely, but we're clearly heading in the right direction. But you can see that the growth rates coming down from 9 and 8.8% all the way down to 2.5%. Take a look in the euro area. Same thing kind of going down. Growth rates slowing down. Of course they are, right? We're heading back to something slightly more normal. And then, unfortunately, you start taking a look while growth is slowing, what's the personal consumption price index look like? What are goods costing consumers? Yeah, that's continuing to go higher. 4.4% higher. It's still climbing. So while we've got a slowing growth in terms of GDP, we've got continued increased price pressure. So, yeah, I know we've been talking about that this week a few times, but this is kind of more broad, broad perspective. We also had earnings come out last night, and for the first time in the earnings cycle, we had a couple of big names, Apple and Amazon, and their earnings weren't as they did not outperform like everyone else was doing. What we can see right when those earnings came out, the Nasdaq index got clipped. It sold off all night long. Tried to make a little bit of a comeback this morning, probably some profit taking from European folks. And here we go. We are looking equities across the board, looking in the red this morning. But that's not the only thing that's looking lower. We've got oil trading lower. We've got nat gas trading lower, although it's trying to make a little bit of a comeback. We've got
I'll show you why. I'll show you why.
okay, and then we've got gold trading lower. So yeah, everything's sort of selling off this morning. So not setting up for a happy Friday. We're setting up for a scary one. So Brian, let me turn it over to you.
hmm
Let's jump in and take a look at what's going on some of these charts, and we can
Yeah.
start taking look at some of these levels on things too.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to start off with what we saw last night with the news. I mentioned yesterday that Australia had their PPI, again, another one of their gauges of inflation. Again, inflation's been the name of the game. Forecast was coming in at 0.6, came in at 1.1, almost double what their percentage rate was of what they expected for PPI. Remember, CPI and PPI are the two big ones. You can see the Aussie dollar up a little bit. It is retracing in the last hour or so as the U.S. traders are coming online. But again, that's kind of the story. Again, we're seeing more inflation. And then coming to this morning, we had the Swiss Economic Barometer. Don't typically get a lot of Swiss data. Blew it out, and that one is down. The dollar Swiss is down, meaning obviously Swiss strength in that one. And in the last hour, that one is also retracing. So 49 is the biggest movement that we have across the board right now in currencies. As you mentioned, German preliminary GDP quarter over quarter. It was expected to be 2.2, but and it only came in at 1.8. But the story, you have to kind of look into it, is they adjusted the prior. The prior went up, so it was supposed to be lower, so it really came in as expected. So the euro is not really, it's just kind of flat, so it was a disappointment for Germany, but they adjusted the last one higher, so it was starting from a higher base, so the percentage is obviously less. So kind of almost more of a wash number than anything else. But CAD GDP month over month actually was lower than expected. And again, remember, they just wiped out all QE. QE was done. Again, still positive, so it's not like they're shrinking. And again, I think everybody expected that, and we're starting to see that. Our PCE, our PCE pricing came in as expected. You mentioned some of the undertoning, pieces of that. Yellen did speak today. Believe it or not, she did speak. It all came out at 4:00 in the morning, so I guess she's in the vampire mode. It's very obvious now by reading her comments why she is now considered a yellow release, even though that she is the U.S. Treasury Secretary. I'm going to scroll down on this one, and again, these headlines may come up today right after the open when the news broadcasters get in there and they need something. They
Right.
may do it. And actually, it's funny. 3 hours ago, there's an OPEC Plus thing about their cuts, demand growth. Yeah, listen to some of these quotes. Right, I'm hopeful and optimistic, and I expect kind of how I don't understand how hopeful and optimistic is the same. I mean, how is hopeful and I expect them to do it in the same sentence? First off, I expect them to enact both the infrastructure measure and the wider budget plan. Again, that would be great for the indices this morning. The spending bill includes critical investments to combat the existential threat of climate change. This is not what the market really cares about, so it's great that she wants to add the political nature into it, but
Right.
again, not necessarily what they care about. This is where she loses me. Inflation is transient, but not for a month or two. Okay, that was the same story we
So
heard in July and August and September. And she's saying it's transitory, but yet it's going up in every single nation across the world.
right.
And then she says price hikes will begin to level down in the second half of next year. So,
Wait, a month or two, and second half of next year would be 12. Wait, 12 months isn't one or
yeah,
two?
slightly different,
Sarcasm.
right?
But that's
Yeah,
yeah, right. A little interesting
right.
there. Right.
Yeah. So again, and then it says that she predicts that and again, same person predicting transient 1 or 2 months, but then the prices are going to go down next year. That's not transient. She predicts that energy costs will begin to moderate in the coming months. So it's kind of like, okay, what are all the hot buttons? Let me say all these things.
Right.
Now it's official why she is a yellow release, because she's going back saying one thing, and it appears that she has no clue with what's actually happening. Because again, the inflation goes higher, higher, higher. It's nice that she says that price hikes are not going to go down to next year, but then how is that 1 or 2 months?
Right.
So with that said, and I'm going to click on this real quick because it's
What
just
it
too
does is
tempting.
it builds a little bit of distrust if it's
Yeah.
clearly posturing, and we want to be honest with us. Um,
Mm.
so interesting.
And then here was the 4:30 a.m. the OPEC Plus. They just said oil demand growth forecast slightly to they reduced it slightly, right? And leaves their oil forecast at the same amount, which means they're not going to speed up increasing it. So yeah, that's what we're looking at. So diving over, I was looking at a couple different kind of opportunities this morning, and the biggest mover right now, percentage wise, is going to be natural gas. And I said I'll tell you why it popped. Whoop! I didn't want to move that. The last
Immigrant
time
at
that oil was or natural gas was down here, again, we were approaching that 555 level mark, and you can see what happened was this is where we started off the week, right? We had that large gap in price, and we had that level of basing, and then again, we had this retest that came in right at 5.559. There's a little tiny bit of a gap, and it tested, and that was the launch point on Monday. Well, that's exactly what we just ran into. You guys can see it literally bounced off the same exact point. So the last time the price was here, it was an area where there was buyers. Okay.
Yep.
Now, why it's important right now is this is where the Europeans started the day. You can see it was literally at the peak in the overnight and have driven it straight down. Now, Europe is very, very big on natural gas. Okay, it is their major hot button. Russia kind of dangles a carrot in front of them because that's where they get a lot of it from is from Russia. This is not, again, seeing it drive down into a level of buyers, I would actually say it's probably due for a bit of a rebound today, not the other way around. I know that my kid's school today is closed. I got a message, a phone call at 6:30 this morning. The school system is in a code red. Only essential employees are to report because of the bad weather today. So it doesn't look horrible. Melissa's like, oh, yeah, we're going to have some flooding later on today. I was like, all
Oh, rain.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, massive amounts of rain. So, and again, I live on the East Coast. Why is that important? Well, when the entire East Coast is getting bad weather, enough that they're going to close school down, like it
They're
better
going to
not
start.
count this as a school day. It's one of those things. Like, yes, this is disrupting. This is like if there was a major event in the Middle East or so with oil, but a lot of the natural gas kind of it's the Gulf of Mexico is oil. The Mid Atlantic East, again, a lot
Right.
of the natural gas is coming out of Pennsylvania. If there's any type of flooding, that kind of stuff, that tends to jack it up a little bit. It disrupts the supply lines basically.
Right.
Is infrastructure could be ruined, but like broken. So I would say right now today, natural gas actually has an opportunity to kind of retrace back a little bit. I don't think we really get above the 580 mark for going into the weekend. Um, Oil is kind of the same thing. Europeans have taken it from high and now it's at a close. I would say it's kind of similar. I mean, growth and things like that are down. But again, remember, whenever it's really, really negative in the European session, we tend to get that reversal in the other direction. So, there has been some buyers. This is an area just below it right here that we're kind of already taking a spring bounce off of. Remember, the U.S. likes oil prices a little bit. I mean, we don't like paying it at the pump, but a lot of industry lobbyists, that kind of stuff, are oil guys, so they kind of like that when it goes higher. So, it's like, hey, we're beating up the U.S. commodity, and then the U.S. steps in. And it's like, no, 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 and then we have a bit of a rally back up over into this area. So, I would say watch out for sellers up here. If we do start to turn and roll back up again, make sure your longs are out before that 83 to 83.20 area. That's where they've stepped in the past. Is this going to be the bottom for the day? I don't know. I think we got a little bit more time to kind of come in, but if you look to see the rest of today, we basically have consumer sentiment, and then obviously the currency report is really going to not affect it much. But this story right here, talking about how we're, they're leaving the demand forecast. If they're saying that demand is fine, they're going to follow the same path for their cut, the reduction of cuts. Why would they change it if they don't think anything is changing right now?
Right.
The
Of course.
trajectory.
Right. And they're
So
going to
it's
keep
nice
banking the
that,
dough. Of
yeah,
course.
exactly. So, I think that's something to watch out for. And talking about how OPEC Plus is making no changes, even though we need it. Consumer sentiment looks good. That rises us higher because then we're saying that our demand is higher. And remember, they always want to, where they are right now, they're loving the price of oil where it is. They're making a lot more money from it. So they don't want to release it too fast and crash the price of oil. They're businessmen at the end of the day, even though we know that it's getting worse. And, like I said, the pump prices are crazy. Gold and silver both down. Gold has finally left and it's really pushing deep, and it's kind of bounced like 3 times in the last couple of hours into this lower level. So we're really testing the lows now. If we bring the lows back into kind of where, the majority of the basing was coming. Again, so many wicks, very, very difficult to kind of really do much off of, but we kind of pierced it here, and they stepped in. It's kind of where we're at right now, and we're seeing a little bit of retracement back again. But seeing some of the numbers from Amazon and Microsoft not being good, which was a surprise, got to be a little bit careful with this one today. But I do think there will be something in here. Gold and silver are both kind of, and look, I mean, here's the 15. Look at this. It's just all wick back and forth. On a 30-minute, I can show you there. It's back and forth. So it's moved. I mean, again, 23.78. Again, hearing comments from yelling about transitory, but then it's going to last for months and months and months. Got to see what the talking heads this morning are going to grab onto. If they're going to mention that, hey, prices are going to continue to grow, inflation for the next year, these should catch a little bit of a bid, and we're seeing that we're seeing that already over in the cryptos. I mean, Bitcoin's up 0.6, Ethereum's up 0.6, back above 60, almost 61,000 and 4,300 respectively. So remember, that seems to be the first place that inflates. It's weird. The cryptos are kind of like the Russell. You see the Russell react very, very fast to things because it's the small caps. Cryptos are the first thing, and then it's kind of like when everything else jumps in, then gold and silver jumps in. And TLT is actually, it's showing a gap down right now, right?
Right.
Remember, bond prices go down, yields go up. When bond prices are doing this, you tend to see red. And again, VIX right now is up 5.5. Look at this. We're showing a gap higher in the VIX. High VIX is never good.
On that, let's just take a quick peek at some of these equities. And maybe before we wrap for today, I want to just because we are opening lower, we might want to just take a quick peek. Take a look at the S&P and the Nasdaq.
Okay. I mean, ES again. We came back up and we hit. We punched higher. Right now where we're kind of hitting things. There's a level sitting right here, right? It's not surprising that we're bouncing through those things, but again, it's already been hit once. It's already been hit a second time. We're pushing back down again. We're talking about the VIX being higher. It's a level that it is a level, right? Any other time of the day, I'd be like, it's great. Take this one. But because we are in such close proximity to a very psychological number, the 45.50, we got to see where we're at in the next 30 minutes. But I would say that it's probably setting up, and excuse me, I would say it's probably setting up more on a purely technical basis for a long. The problem is going to be the earnings from Amazon and Microsoft.
Right.
That's going to be the big issue. That's what's going to weigh on people. People really haven't had an opportunity to trade that one. But on a purely technical basis, I mean, there's again, with the level we're at right now, there's obviously a ton of basing and a little bit of a pop right off the psychological number. And then there's also this little base right here that has also been tested where buyers have stepped in. So it's got three levels. But again, two big names like Amazon, Microsoft, not necessarily the best. So again, consumer sentiment down here at 10 o'clock may be the way to play this one. NQ is obviously taking a little bit worse. It's down 1%. But what is it doing? We had a little buying area here, but interestingly enough, had we used a psychological level at 15,600, it's already bounced off that one time. So you can see how it's being drawn in. And again, we blew through the 15,700 yesterday, almost made it to 15,800. I was like, go, 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 go. Right now, I would say it's kind of the same way. The market hasn't had an opportunity to react to it, but if we are sitting in some of these levels, they are on a technical, analysis-based, opinion. It has hit it a few times. There are buyers there. Price has been unable to really break through that 15,600. If consumer sentiment looks good, yes, I know that the earnings are bad, but has the market prepared and has the market gone down to get a better buying price to trap the retail trader that says, "Oh, I'm shorting NQ as soon as we get in because Microsoft." So they're trying to take advantage of the bad news.
Microsoft is doing good. It's Amazon and Apple.
Amazon and Apple. Sorry, Amazon and Apple. Yeah, I mean, they're thinking this as a retail trader, but the market's already done the move down. It's done the move down here, and the market is trying to get a cheap price to buy it and go higher. So, like I said, infrastructure being passed, budget being passed, all those things, that's all positive.
There are encouraging things there. So it'll be interesting to see how what this trap looks like. I will say, JP Morgan did, yes, Apple's, there was some, and again, it was on supply side. Some of those the backlogs of being able to get some of their components, but ultimately,
but Ford has no problem. If they need components, call Ford. Ford said they don't have any problems.
And meanwhile, JP Morgan was like, just buy the dip. Just buy the dip. I mean, there's going to be a dip.
This is Apple. I know we're not trading Apple at Nadex, but all the people that are thinking, "Oh my God, this is so horrible. I can't wait to short it."
Well, it's the Nasdaq index, and the whole index is getting clipped and being brought down by that. So it's, I mean, that exposure when you're looking at it, right?
Tesla holding firm. Tesla's doing well. So but anyway, guys, I would say you see that big move in after, again, the retail trader is lined up and prime for a trap right there. If you see any type of basing, even at the open, and the way to play this, I did a mentoring session with one of the students that watches this program, and all last night I was like, I can't believe how great she's doing with it. Call spreads. Go over there and look at call spreads. A lot of these call spreads are really matching up well, and you're able to take such minor risk on there, and it's protecting you from the whipsaw at the open. Been a great opportunity. She was doing it with knockouts and had a phenomenal week. But I said, hey, do me a favor, switch it to call spreads instead of your knockouts, just based off that morning volatility, and it's giving you a little bit lower risk. See how it works for you. Check them out. There's a lot over there. We've been mentioning it every morning. Drop to the 15-minute, look at the opening candles, and again, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. It matters in that first 30 minutes. It's a great opportunity over there, so please go check that out. And again, YM is really the same thing, floating around that 35,500. And Russell, look at Russell. Russell peaked up and has been holding. It's not as weak as everybody else. We start getting positive today, look for Russell to be the one that breaks up again. And can we get to 23, 25? It's possible. It's sitting in an area right now where it's definitely had some buyers, as well as there's another little base right below it. So it's kind of stabilized. And even if it's just a little bit of a pop to take advantage of the overnight news and then drops, catch the pop. But I would say right now, I mean, besides this little area right up here in the Russell, I mean, we kind of got smooth sailing for the most part back up again. So anything that turns positive, they pass the infrastructure bill today, then again, I think all these can go. Instead of being red, being spooky, I think we could actually
we could end up. So yeah, keep it. Definitely going to be some volatility going on in the equity indices. So a place to be looking today. There is going to be action there. All right, with that, Any questions for Nadex, please email us customerservice@nadex.com. Any
Mm.
questions for Brian, you can certainly email Brian at support@keeptradingsimple.com. What a quick recap: uh, GDP numbers, growth slowing, personal consumption expenditure prices for consumers are
Stagflation.
yeah, still continuing to climb. We did have some surprise negative earnings, not negative, but just not as good as what was expected with a couple of big names, Apple and Amazon, and that is why we're seeing the equities opening, looking to open in the red. Might be an opportunity. I think once people digest that and look at it at the broader market, we'll
It
see.
just means that Jeff can only go to can only go to space 3 times next year instead of
Yes,
4. That's all it means.
yeah,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
And
He
then
can only
we've
go
seen
three
some
times.
volatility. Oil and nat gas have been moving around. I mean, we do have some volatility going on this morning. Those short duration binary options can certainly be a pretty interesting opportunity. And then,
Mm.
really, in the markets, look at the small and mid caps. The Russell seems to be a little bit of the outlier this morning, where they're clearly not getting hit as badly as, say, the Nasdaq, which is leading the market down. With that, I want to wish everyone a happy Halloween. Have a very safe weekend. Hope everyone enjoys. And Brian and I will catch you again on Monday in November.
I'll have eaten 50 Reese's peanut butter cups by Monday morning, so we'll see what I look like Monday morning. All the Reese's peanut butter cups are coming to me.
I will say on the Reese's peanut butter cup, I did see one pretty funny ad. It said how to eat candy corn at Halloween.
Throw it in the
Open the
trash.
bag, pour the contents into the trash can, and go eat some
Yeah.
Reese's peanut butter cups.
Eat some Reese's peanut butter cups. Yeah, yeah. It's a different generation. Different generation.
Definitely very funny. All right, everyone. We will catch you Monday. Enjoy and good luck in the markets.